Whoa, buddy. Put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
Welcome to the party, pal.
The Michael Dukes Show.
The greed and the entitlement is astounding to me.
What more could you want from a low-budget radio program?
This is a dumpster fire.
That was just BS.
It is time to get a new perspective.
We know just what you need, and we've got just the cure. Open wide and prepare for a steaming hot cup of freedom.
I just don't fathom it.
The Michael Dukes Show, streaming live across the world.
Live around the world on the internet at michaeldukeshow.com and across the state of Alaska on this, your favorite radio station and or FM translator. Good morning, my friends, and welcome to Wednesday, middle of the week, hump day, downhill slide to Firearms Friday, just right around the corner. 29 big, beautiful degrees here on top of the world in Homer, Alaska. And warm, let's see, 26 in Anchorage, a little bit warmer. It's been nice. It's been nice, man. We are ready to go, and we are just 1 week away from Thanksgiving. So I hope you've got dreams of turkey and everything else floating around in your brain, because that's that's coming. And I hope you got all your. I hope you got all your Thanksgiving shopping done for the turkey and the stuffing and all the stuff. If not, good luck. Good luck. It's gonna be combat out there. I guarantee you, it's gonna be crazy. I was in Costco yesterday, and woof, man, woof. It's all I could say. All right, we are ready to go. Today's a full boat. We're about to jump into it with Representative Kevin McCabe. Who we have for a couple segments here, and we appreciate him coming on board with us. And then in hour two, we're going to be talking with former Fairbanks School Board President Melissa Burnett, who's going to kind of give us an after-action review, a debriefing, as you were, for her post-battle in the Fairbanks area on all that stuff. And so we got a couple full hours here of discussion and conversation and everything else. So without further ado, let's get into this and get things ready to rock and roll. Representative Kevin McCabe joins us this morning from an undisclosed secret location somewhere in the he's down there doing stuff, making things happen. And he joins us this morning to talk about the latest and greatest, including his potential appointment to the seat of State Senator Mike Shower that just got vacated there. And we welcome him to the program. Good morning, my friend. How are you?
Good morning, Michael, and good morning to all the 6 o'clock club, I guess.
Yeah, 6 o'clock club. It's tough when it's only 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock there. I mean, wherever you're at, it's a little bit easier, isn't it, to climb out and do that?
Yeah, I hope. Please pray for me. I'm in California, so hopefully I can make it out unscathed.
Yeah, really. I got to make it out with all your fingers and your wallet attached when it's all said and done. Yep. Kevin, so there's been this is going to be an interesting time. That whole old Confucius saying of "May you live in interesting times." We definitely are. We definitely are there because with the potential here, we've got 15 different people running for governor and all this other stuff. The seats are going to be up for a lot of representatives and senators, and this next election cycle is going to be crazy. But even just this next 90 days, 120 days in the legislature is going to be crazy, because as Mike Shower has stepped down, that's opened up his seat. You're in the running to be appointed to that seat. And then that could potentially, there's a domino effect there that we need to talk about. Shelley Hughes just announced that she's retired. She's resigned. She's resigned as of last Friday. And so first and foremost, I guess let's talk about your potential appointment to the seat of Senator Shower. man, don't you have enough on your hands in the House? What were you thinking, right? I mean, what were you thinking? Give me some thoughts here as you threw your hat in the ring here on this one.
Well, the district had to come up with 3 names essentially. So I thought, George and I seem to be logical names to give the governor, just because we're already familiar and we can hit the ground running in the Senate, and kind of gives the governor a choice between George and I. I'm got a big mouth, and George is more of a thoughtful and introspective kind of guy. We're both conservative. I think we both fit with the governor's values. So it just kind of depends on what he wants to do in the Senate. If he picks a big mouth or the thoughtful guy, I guess. I don't know.
This is the do you want to go loud or you want to go quiet? Right. I mean, that's the kind of thing, do you want to go loud or go quiet?
Right.
This and for you though, it's almost like a pick your poison. You're in the minority in the House. You've been a little bit sidelined, and you're kind of at the mercy of the coalition majority. Kind of the same thing in the Senate, although a lot more of your fellow Republicans looking at you across the dais there, and that's going to be interesting. Do you think? And we've seen some of the same players before when this has played out in the past with appointments of senators. And we've seen some senators get shot down that were, stalwart, or some appointments to some potential senators, I should say. I'm thinking about Laddie Shaw here in particular. We've seen some of the same players involved here. I mean, Vegas odds, what do you think, man? Are you, I know, like you said, you're a little bit of a big mouth. You kind of speak your mind. You don't necessarily take any prisoners, so to speak. Is that going to endear you? What do you think that does for your chances here as you look at this? What are your thoughts amongst your fellow Republicans in the Senate and in the House, who are in the majorities, that are going to have to sign off on this supposedly?
Yeah, it's you just never know. And I haven't spent a whole bunch of time lobbying other senators or talking to the majority senators, the Republicans that are in the majority. Just because I figure everybody's, why should I bother them if it's until the governor actually picks me, if he does pick me. So everybody has stuff going on. This is the time where we sort of wind up our families and wind up the projects at home, and we all have conferences that we go to, and so I just thought, well, not much point in spending a bunch of time bothering the Senator Stevens and Stedman and
right
and groups. So I haven't talked to him too much. I have a relationship with all of them. Gary Stevens was my university professor when I went to college in Kodiak. So he and I are familiar with each other. I always blame him for my big mouth, because he was one of the classes I took from him was speech. So I tell him it's his fault. Senator Stedman and I have worked together on some of the defined benefits arguments. So I think that I have a relationship with them. And truthfully, I mean, they're already a really strong coalition majority. I don't think that they really care too much. I'm sure just would be an annoyance to them. So it just depends on if they want George to annoy them or me.
Right, right. Well, and that's one of the questions we've kind of thrown around here on the program. That's really one of the questions. George won't. He's never been on the program. He won't. It's not his thing, is what he told me the one time that I was able to get a hold of him. It's not his thing talking to people, apparently. But there's been some speculation by some of the people in his district, some callers on the program, wondering, well, would he stick with the majority or with the minority, or would he be willing to fold into a coalition majority? And of course, as you said, there's not much is going to change their majority. And so you are almost a direct replacement for Mike Shower, who's also very loud in his thoughts and doesn't really pull any punches. So, I mean, I don't know. It seems like it would kind of, like you said, be more of the same. It's not like it's going to necessarily change anything in the short term. In the long term, there might be some changes. But at least I think from a viewpoint of, I guess I should just ask you, you would not join a coalition majority if it was offered to you, would you?
No, and I doubt they would even offer it to me. I mean, what's the point? And likewise with George. I mean, George and I have spent a few hours together. We drove up to Fairbanks and back together for an event up there, and we talked a lot about various stuff. And George is, not only would they not ask him, just like they wouldn't ask me, but he would never go. And what would be the point? They would, do you want to come to the majority and have a same committee that you would have in the minority, same position on a committee? They're not going to remove one of their committee chairs in lieu of me or George. So, and offer us a committee chair or somehow. So I don't see that as a player. In fact, I think that a certain amount of this is much ado about nothing. I think the Senate's probably going to just do the collegiate thing or the statesman thing and just approve one or the other of us, whichever the governor sends, and get on with business. At least I hope that's what they do. But
well, I mean, that would be great. I mean, we would all be pleasantly surprised if that's what happened and that's what occurred in that venue, and we hope that it does. We hope that it does. Kevin, I guess let's start from the assumption that that's what happens, and let's say that you're the appointee. What would you hope to accomplish? What would to you, in your mind, I guess, explain to those of us who've never been in the legislature, what would be the big difference between being, Kevin McCabe, Representative Kevin McCabe, versus Senator Kevin McCabe? What's the main difference here? What would you hope to accomplish in that regard, and give us the differences?
That's a really good question. So mostly I suspect that what I would hope to accomplish in the Senate is just establish some relationships for going forward. I think everybody's quite aware, and we're going to be more aware as we get closer to January and the price of oil continues to fall, that we have a huge budget shortfall, exacerbated by the fire season, as well as the the money we're having to spend for the Western Alaska typhoon issues. And so I think a lot of the discussion is going to center around the budget, and of course that informs education as well as defined benefits and a few more budgetary issues. So I would hope to have some influence in the Senate as well as in the House. If it all shakes out and George is gone and Kathy's gone, then there's two new people to bring into the fold and have some discussions about both of those defined benefits and education as well. So I don't think the role is going to be all that much different, other than different relationships in the Senate.
Yeah, and again, kind of more of a long term. You sound like you're trying to, thinking about the long term game here, and what does it look like next session or the session after that, so to speak. Kevin McCabe is our guest representative from the Big Lake area there. We're talking about his potential appointment to Senate District O, and we'll see what happens with that. When we return, we're going to talk a little bit about the domino effect, which is, with seats, basically playing peekaboo or musical chairs as we speak here. We're going to talk a little bit about that, and we'll see what comes out of that. We will continue here in just a second. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Back with Kevin McCabe here in just a moment. Don't go anywhere.
If you missed the show, you can listen to it on your time with Dukes On Demand. Oh, and it's free. Like America used to be. Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
Okay, Representative Kevin McCabe, our guest here on the big radio program as we continue on here. I just as after I heard this, the appointments and who the names were and everything, and I just thought, wow, you're just a glutton for more, right? A glutton for more punishment here as we go through. But the more I thought about it, the more I thought, well, you're fighting the same fight, just from a little bit of a different angle, a little bit of a different perspective. And you don't have to convince nearly as many people to see things the way that you see, right, Kevin?
Yeah. Is that what we call it? Convincing?
Yeah, convincing, coercing, arm twisting, conforming, whatever it is.
Sure. Yeah. And it's, there's a different way of doing things in the Senate, a different style. I guess they're a little bit more long-term thinking. They're in a 4-year term for the most part. And, there's a reason that there's the House is 2 years. The House members are supposed to be closer to the people, and we're supposed to be running for a re-election from the day that we get elected the first time, and talking to people and, town halls and phone calls. And Senate's a little bit more laid back, and they have a little bit more time. So just a different way of doing things, but the job itself is virtually the same. It's about relationships. And so,
yeah, well, it's the Senate, ostensibly in theory, you're right. You would think they would be more long-term. Unfortunately, it seems like we still suffer from a lot of the same short-term itis that we've had in the legislature for years, regardless of the chamber or body. We seem to be lacking kind of some of that long-term thinking. But I know that you've talked a lot about this in the past, that, we have to have, more long-term vision, the long-term fiscal plan, right? The fiscal policy working group. I mean, these are things that we shouldn't be looking at just what is happening next year, what is happening, this next 2-year session. We should be looking at, what does this look like 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the road?
Sure. That's the real frustrating thing. I mean, the Chinese have a 100-year plan. We don't even have a 5-year plan. So it is very frustrating that we deal with things on a 2-year basis or a 4-year basis. One of my favorite stories to tell people when I'm talking about Port McKenzie in a port authority, Jesse Sumner, when he was an assemblyman, made a statement once when they were discussing the port. He said, "I can't think of a worse body on the planet to manage Port McKenzie than the people sitting in this dais with me," because they rotate in and out every 3 years. Now it's 4 years over there, and it's the same with us. We tend to think in 2-year blocks, and we should maybe think in longer terms. Maybe we should have a 5 or a 10-year plan, and the fiscal policy working group was part of that. We just need to get the rest of the legislature to accept it and work towards it, right?
We just got to get everybody else on the same page, which, surprisingly, I thought there was a lot of folks involved in that, and a lot of separate viewpoints that kind of came together, and they all sat down and you didn't all agree, politically, you didn't all agree from a philosophical viewpoint, but when it was all said and done, you guys had all pencil whipped and signed off on something that, didn't make, everybody was a little bit unhappy, but that was kind of the nature of compromise, right?
Right.
Everybody's ox gets gored a little bit.
Right. And, Jonathan Christ Tompkins, JKT, was the leader of that committee or that task force. And, he was fairly good at putting it together and in the meetings and the discussion and shepherding us through the discussion. But at one point, he called me, and we had sort of a come to Jesus meeting. And he basically said, "Kevin, this task force is not going to pivot around your idea of a full PFD. You're just going to have to accept that." And, because that's what I was pushing for continually,
Right.
Probably for the first, 30, 40 hours of discussion. That was my hardline position. And he and I had a long conversation.
Hold on a second, Kevin. We're about to rejoin. I'm sorry.
Right.
I want you to finish this. We'll pick this back up on the other side.
Sure.
Like, subscribe, yada, yada. Let's do it.
The Michael Duke Show. Seriously humorous with a pinch of intellect. Sorry. That is humorous. Here's Michael Dukes.
Guy's so mean to me. I don't know what I did to him, but all right, we're talking with Kevin McCabe, representative from the Big Lake area, and we're talking about the legislature, his possible appointment to the seat vacated by Mike Shower. And we were just talking about long-term vision. We were talking about long-term goals, and that led to a discussion here in the break about the fiscal policy working group. And, I said that kind of is a great blueprint it doesn't have to be word for word, but it's a pretty great blueprint for a long-term fiscal plan, which we really need in this state instead of thinking in 1 year, 2 year blocks, or even 4 year blocks. If you're looking at the Senate to limits on their terms, and you were talking about how, and I mentioned that, this is a whole group of separate people that had completely different philosophies, but they all came together and in the end unanimously signed off on this plan as a great roadmap or blueprint for a fiscal policy. And you were telling us, I said, everybody's ox is going to get gored a little bit. That's kind of the definition of compromise. And you were walking us through a bit of a story here that you had with Jonathan Christ Tompkins, who was the chair of that committee. Walk us through that.
Yeah. So at some point, after probably about midway through, I was and am a hardline full PFD guy. And I sort of drove the committee to a standstill with my demands for a full PFD that it be somehow included in that committee. And JKT called me and we had a long conversation. And at the end of the day, he said, Kevin, this committee and the results of this committee are not going to pivot around your need and your idea for a full PFD. We have to get past that and find a way to compromise on this and get a plan out. So the compromise is we would work towards putting the PFD, enshrining the PFD in the Constitution. And we didn't want to put a formula in there. Nobody wanted to put a formula in our Constitution. That's a recipe for disaster, as some of the Midwestern states are finding out. They put formulas in their Constitution and it just doesn't work out. So we said, okay, we will put in the Constitution. We'll offer a resolution. I think Carpenter offered it his last 2 months of the last session. I think HJR 7 probably was the bill number, and that was that we would have a PFD. The Constitution would just say the legislature shall pay a PFD. It could be $1, it could be $10,000, but we'll pay a PFD. And then in accordance with the formula that we put in statute, and then we could change the formula in statute if we wanted to and if we needed to. So, and of course, part of that whole deal would be to get rid of the competing clauses that I think it was SB 26 put in there with the 21% of interest or 5% of market value. We'd have to, get rid of those clauses and put the formula solid in the PFD. So we could, our basic goal was to quit arguing about it, to put it in the Constitution,
right?
Give the citizens of Alaska a vote on it, again, because they've already voted once about the PFD. I think 83% said, yes, we want the PFD is important to us. So we wanted to do that. Part of the way we wanted to do that was to put it in the Constitution, and we couldn't get that through the House. So
right.
That was a failure, I thought, of our majority, is our inability to bring enough of the minority at the time on board and pass that. So, but yeah, that was part of the fiscal policy working group. That was our long-term plan. There's 5 different ideas in there, from cutting the budget to raising revenue, There was some talk about revenue for the how are we going to do that? Taxes, we discussed that. Income tax, sales tax, flat tax. We discussed all of that. I mean, everything was on the table.
Well, and I mean, that's how it needs to be. I mean, everything was on the table. Your final suggestions and recommendations included, as you said, cuts to the budget. You talked about sales tax, potential statewide sales tax, other forms of revenue. We talked about increasing a slight increase to the oil company tax. Again, enshrining the PFD, a spending cap, which I think is most important, because that's something that we haven't had that in the state for so long, or an effective one anyway. There's one baked into the Constitution, but it's not it's not relevant. And those were really the cornerstones. The cornerstones, I think, of the fiscal policy working group were, one, a constitutional spending cap, a real one that had teeth, and the enshrinement of the PFD, which would protect that in perpetuity, that payout in perpetuity. And then everything else was kind of baked into that. And it was really disappointing to see that, when people moved this, somebody threw a fit about it all being part of a single plan. You couldn't put together a comprehensive fiscal bill that covered all these things because somebody started screaming about single subject or whatever. I would think that a fiscal plan is a single subject. I mean, I would think that all those things that have to do with a fiscal plan, I think I would argue that those could be all locked in under one single subject in that regard.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. Maybe we made a mistake in insisting that they all march together, and towards the end of the last legislative session, not last year, but towards the end of the majority, when we were in the majority, we sort of came to the realization that they were going to have to be offered as separate bills. That was a hill too far. So that hence Carpenter's, start with the PFD, putting the PFD in the Constitution. And I think Will Stapp and some others had the spending cap. I think Senator Kaufman had a spending cap. And so, yeah, I mean, all of the above we tried to do, and we just need to continue doing it. Thankfully, everybody, including the legislature and you and Brad Keithley and everybody, continues to talk about the fiscal policy working group, even though that, there's been other working groups. Senator Hughes was on a PFD working group in the years before I was even down there, and nobody talks about that anymore, but we're still talking about the fiscal policy working group. And so that's encouraging. It does give us a framework. Maybe it needs to be changed a little bit or modified, but it gives us a path forward. So
we keep talking about it because it's still it is the number one problem facing the state.
Sure.
Right. I mean, I don't know why anybody would want to be part of the legislature in the coming years, because I look at what's happening, and like I've said many times, it's like a game of musical chairs where there's 30 people and there's one chair left, right? I mean, eventually the music is going to stop, and then what happens? You guys will all be on the hook on this kind of stuff.
Yeah, 100%. I had a conversation with I'm down here at this AKLEG conference, which is legislative exchange group, and this is the tax and fiscal policy group at the Reagan Ranch, or we're going to the Reagan Ranch tomorrow. But Scott Walker talked last night, and Arthur Laffer has given us a talk, Donna Arduin's partner, and Steve Forbes, I think. So a bunch of real good high thinkers on tax and fiscal policy. But I had a conversation last night with the guy, and he said, well, what's the biggest problem in Alaska right now? Another state senator. And I said, absolutely, our budget. It's going to have over $1 billion hole in it. And we continue to talk through this. And he looked at me and he said, you mean you don't have any taxes in Alaska? No state property tax, no income tax, no sales tax. And I said, no. And he said, well, how do you raise money? Well, of course, it's with oil, but oil is so volatile right now. Trump says less than $2 a gallon gas, and the entire lower 48 claps their hands, and Alaska shudders because we know how much that's going to cost us, right? So we need to find a way past that. And that's one of the reasons that I'm pushing for more resource development as part of this is what we said in the fiscal policy working group. You know, Kevin, somebody asked me the other day, they said, Kevin, why are you so interested in mining and coal mining and lower electricity and Port McKenzie? Because they all have to do with resource development in the state of Alaska, different from oil. I mean, I love the oil guys. I love what the oil has done for the state of Alaska, the North Slope, everybody else. But we need to diversify because right now oil is too dependent on factors outside of the state of Alaska. And, if we have mining in here, antimony, gold, copper, silver, rare earth, it's a different revenue stream for us. And we need to focus on those.
Kevin McCabe is our guest. Kevin, the other thing that we were talking about in regards to the appointment and everything is the domino effect, right? So you've got Mike's shower seat, which is now you and George are both on the and Ryan Sheldon are the three choices. If you or George are chosen, that also then in turn vacates your seat, but not immediately because you have to wait to be confirmed. Right. And so that throws a whole wrench into the deal because if you get confirmed in the first handful of days of the session, that still means that we have a 30-day window in January, starting in January, for somebody to fill your seat or George's seat. Shelley stepped down. Kathy Tilton has expressed the interest in being part of that. She's probably going to be one of the appointees or potential appointees. She could, again, that would mean a vacancy there. I mean, there's like a domino effect as this thing goes through. What do you see? What kind of hardships do you see that kind of creating as far as organization or things like that in the first part of this session? What do you think it brings out?
Yeah, I don't think it'll shift the organization at all in the House. I'm certain that if I'm selected, the governor and the Republic, my district, is going to ask me, who do you recommend to be your replacement? Same with District 29, if George is selected, and same with Tilton's district. They're going to ask her. I have a few folks in mind that have expressed an interest, and one of the very first questions, of course, because in the House it actually does matter because we're such a thin 2119. One of my first questions to those that have expressed an interest is, would you confirm to me that you are willing to stay with the conservative, the Republican minority, that you're not going to go to the majority? And so that's the interesting aspect of the domino effect, as you mentioned, is we do have a different makeup in the House that could be affected by a wrong choice by the governor, and confirmation fortunately would fall most, with the exception of Representative Stutes and Representative Kopp, the Republicans in the House would be able to drive the confirmation. So and another good thing is we have somebody that's already been through that. Mike Prox was selected years ago to replace Tammy Wilson, so he's kind of got the skinny, be a way to lead the new folks into the fold. So I think we'll be all right. It's just a matter of making sure we communicate with each other and talk to each other. So.
We've only got about 5 minutes left here. I'm going to stretch the break out here a little bit because I know you have to go before the top of the hour. But I do want to talk about this next session because, as you point out, $1 billion, and I think that's low for the coming session. It's actually between 1.4 and 1.9, I think, are some of the numbers that I've seen thrown around, depending on what you're doing with the PFD and everything else. But I mean, it's a $1.5 billion deficit coming up this year. We've already been seeing what the education task force has been talking about. A BSA of $13,000 instead of $6,000. We could see that there's going to be more money there. The defined benefits folks are rattling their sabers and getting things ready to go. And so we've got a lot of new money spends that are out there, a lot of new spending programs that are already making their way towards the new session, and yet we're $1.5 billion in the hole. This is going to be, I mean, between that and all the appointments and everything else, I can't imagine that this session is going to be, I guess, fun is what I'm saying. This is going to be an interesting session. Give me your thoughts on already what you're seeing getting stacked up for the next session without any discussion on how we pay for it all.
Yeah, and certainly education is with the education task force running is a big one. You've probably seen I've written a few things about the task force. I'm not happy with the fact that the parents have been left out of the discussion, which is very frustrating. Although one of the documents inside of the last the November 10th meeting, if you pull up that tab and pull up documents, there was a discussion in there about defined benefits from a couple of guys from ICER from university, and they basically say that defined benefits from what they've seen and studied from 2000 on up, defined benefits for teachers doesn't make a lick of difference in whether or not they're hired or retained, whether or not they just don't stay for defined benefits, and when they get hired, they don't care about defined benefits. And that squares with many other things that we've heard about defined benefits. Is it's just not that big a deal to Gen Z, especially. They don't care. They would rather have higher pay on the front end and a fulfilling job and great leadership and be able to make a difference early on in their careers instead of the golden handcuffs. So that's certainly going to be an argument, a debate. They have been, the defined benefits team has been running around the state, different villages and different Bethel, I think they were in Fairbanks, talking about and shopping the defined benefits plan. So yeah, in fact, one of the folks here at this ALEC conference is from the Reason Foundation, defined benefits guys. So he has already expressed an interest in having some discussion with me.
Well, give him my number, because I talked to a lot of the guys at Reason, but I haven't talked to anybody yet from the foundation, especially about this. And this would be a fantastic opportunity. Drop Jacob Sullivan, JD Tuchili's name, and have him give him my information. Said I'd love to talk to him about it. Sure. Because I think this is the thing question. This is the final, because we're wrapping things up here. I know you got to go. The biggest question that we're going to have to ask ourselves, that nobody seems to be, there's a few of you throughout the years, throughout different parts of it, who have asked the question. I know you have, I know Will Stapp has, I know Ben Carpenter did, Mike has asked it, but I mean, the question is how. These are all well and good. This is all great stuff. This would all be good for, yes, we can all agree that this would be good for some or all of the people, or some of the people, but the question always remains in the end, how do we pay for it? Right. And nobody seemed, as a whole, as corporately, nobody seems to be asking that question. There's a few of you who are popping up and, like the little annoying little, whack-a-moles or whatever. You guys get cracked back down into your seats. And then it's like, forget about that. Don't worry. I mean, we've got this whole, it just feels like we're in a portion where everybody thinks, oh, we're just too big to fail. We need it, so we'll spend it and we'll figure it out. And that's not a way to run a railroad. And so how much of that do you think is going to affect what's going on this session?
Oh, it's going to be huge. I have a sign on my door, Tom Cruise, show me the money. And I think it turns a lot of people away that would come in and ask for money. So that's got to be the first thing. And truthfully, last year, the Senate, Senator Hoffman, both Senator Hoffman and Senator Stedman, they said it many times. How are we going to pay for this? How are we going to pay for this? In committee, Senator Hoffman was very, very clear. You can't put in any programs that are going to add money to the budget, and it's going to be worse this year for sure. Especially, I mean, the supplemental budget, we're going to have to deal with that almost immediately, and I don't know how we're going to, where's the money going to come from for that? And that's, I've heard that's close to $200 million, and that's scary, frankly.
Yeah. Oh, it is. I mean, the supplemental, Yeah, I mean, I've heard 250 to 280 was the highest number I heard, but it's a significant amount, amount. And that just adds to the deficit on top of everything else. All right. Final thought here, Kevin. Senator Kevin McCabe has a nice ring to it. I'd love to see it. The governor has to make the appointment by when? It's got to be in the next week, right? Or week and a half, 10 days, something like that.
Yeah, I think Senator Shower's resignation was the 3rd of November, his official resignation.
Okay.
So the governor has 30 days from then. So
Okay.
the 3rd of December-ish.
About 2 weeks then. So we got about 2 weeks before the governor makes his decision. Let's hope it. Any final thoughts here, Kevin, before I let you go?
Yeah, no, my job is to represent the people, and I try to do that as best I can, and it just will add a few people for me to be a senator, would add some folks to my constituency, if you will, and I'm just going to do the best I can no matter where I am. So that's what I've always tried to do. I've made some mistakes for sure, but at the end of the day, that's our job. I look at it as a servant rather than as a leader, so.
Well, regardless of the outcome, you'll still be there helping to serve the people, either as a senator or still as a representative. And so we appreciate your fight out there. But I'm serious about getting those reason guys my number, because we definitely need to have that discussion about defined benefits, and I want to have those guys on to discuss it. Yeah. All right, Kevin McCabe, thank you so much, my friend. I appreciate it. Thank you for coming on board, and we look forward to hearing from you and seeing where things go down the road.
Of course, I appreciate the opportunity. So you guys all have a great day.
All right, Kevin McCabe, our guest. He's got to bail out and head on down the road. We're going to continue in just a moment. Don't go anywhere. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. We'll return. Senator Rob Myers in the chat room. He says December 4th for Shower's seat, December 14th for Hughes's seat. Those are the deadlines. That's when the governor has to make those appointments. Thank you, Rob, for throwing that up there. All right, we got more coming up. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio.
Your mental suppository. The Michael Duke Show.
Okay, we're in the break right now. And it's just you and me, baby. Just you. I'm so sorry. I had to make a trip to Wasilla yesterday. There and back. Oh. And I got home about 1 this morning. So I'm running a little sleep deprived today. So I apologize if you hear me yawn in the background. I can't help it, man. It's not me. It's my body. All right. Since it was such a warm morning, says Frank, I decided to have a flat tire. Got her done. Okay, good. Yeah, no, it is. I mean, it is. What is it? 0 in Fairbanks right now? Something like that. Just, just that's better than anything else. Let me see. Gail Moore. What was that? What was that sneeze? What sneeze? Did I sneeze? It was a yawn, but not a sneeze. It felt like a sneeze. Gail says, I agree. Senator McCabe fits. I believe he's the hardest working legislator we have. I think Kevin would be a perfect fit. We'll talk about that here in a minute when we come back on the air as well. Anthony, I just saw this with Anthony. This is more of a Firearms Friday thing, but I will highlight it because, he's here. He says, random shout out, went to 40 Below Holsters and had a custom fit Kydex holster made in under 1.5 hours for this chunky M&P 2.0 10 millimeter that he's got. And he said, it's amazing. You can't get any better than letting the fabricator take your gun with its attachments and make it a perfect fit. And I agree. 40 Below has made my last 3 or 4 holsters. And I just plan on, if I'm going to Fairbanks, I just have them make it. And they make some of the finest holsters, Kydex holsters in the world. They make a dang good holster, and strong. And like you said, I've got a light on mine, and good luck getting that to fit in an off the shelf holster. No. You just you take it in there and they make it, and it's perfect. It's perfect. I love what they do over there. So yeah, 40 Below holsters, definitely a good group of guys over there, and they've done some fantastic work as well. All right, so let me pull that down. I see Tim just dropped a book in the thing. What is that? Oh, it's a link for it's the ADN article. Yeah, no, they have the two Alaska element. I don't know if you saw this. The Anchorage School Board voted not to close the 2 schools that they were talking about closing. And the board voted 3-4 against closing Fire Lake and 1-6 against for Otis Elementary. Now, this is all part and parcel of their budget problem, right? Because they've got, these schools one of them is less than 50% full. And so everybody's excited, we did it. We changed their mind. We did it. The budget, again, they got, let's see. They've got what's the budget deficit this year? According to the district, they could save up to nearly $1 million annually by closing one of the schools. And they've got a budget deficit of $100 million. $100 million, according to the KTUU. In 2023, the budget year, the district saw its budget deficit jump by over $40 million. The budget again jumped by over $30 million in 2025 and hit a high of over $100 million for the 2026 budget year. But we couldn't possibly close any of these schools. Couldn't possibly do it. Yeah, why would they close schools? Says Rob. They'd get less money from the state. Why would they close schools? And Melissa just said, Anchorage will never do what needs to be done. Oof. That's the crazy part. ADN keeping schools open? That's news? Well, that's the very definition of news, Harold. They just did it yet. We just found out. What is it? Man, the snark on this guy, man. Just the snark on this guy. Anyway, yeah. Interesting to say the least. We'll just say that. All right. Well, we're going to jump back into this here. We're going to have just a couple minutes before we hit the top of the hour. So I'm going to recap some of my thoughts with what's going on with Kevin. And then Melissa is already waiting in the wings because she's a go-getter, early bird, riser.
Public enema number 1. Oh, wait, sorry. Public enemy number 1, which makes more sense. On the other hand, he's a little bit of a pain in the Michael Duke Show.
Okay. Well, only got a few minutes here before we run out of daylight for hour 1, but I did want to come in and recap with some of my thoughts on the discussion of Kevin McCabe being a potential appointee for the senator for Senate District O. and I'll just say this. I think that if the people of Senate District O want to be represented in the same way that they have been, that Kevin is the logical choice. And I'm gonna be as nice as I can be about this without I don't want to call it. I will just say that I have been disappointed in my maybe I've had two over the years, but one or two interactions with Representative Rauscher, because he felt like he didn't want to be part of having a discussion with the public. And I've I've highlighted this, that when I invited him on the program, and I finally got a hold of him. He just said, "That's not my thing. That's not what I do. I don't want to do that. I'm not comfortable doing that. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to talk about policy. I don't want to talk about what my thoughts are. I don't want to talk about this is all." I mean, I'm kind of, implying what he was basically saying by saying, "No, thank you, but no, I'm not going to participate in this." And I had a conversation with somebody who was at the appointment interviews, or the meeting for the Republican Party, where they were interviewing all the potential appointees. And they told me that during the conversations in the hallways, while they were interviewing one-on-one everybody else was standing out in the hallway while they were in executive session, and was basically told, that George said he doesn't talk to anybody about his political views, not his wife, not his staff, not his anything. He just did. And it doesn't talk to the public. Well, I'll tell you one thing that Mike Shower did that nobody else had been doing is that he went around to every part of his district. He said he showed up in Valdez, and they were shocked that he actually showed up in Valdez. Like, we haven't seen our senator in forever, they said. I remember that was a conversation piece. And he would travel all around the district and try and talk with them directly, one-on-one. And you know who else has been doing that the whole time? You know who else has been, Kevin McCabe. He's been traveling up to Healy and, Talkeetna and all those parts of his district already. He's already been out there doing the meetings and the town halls and the get-togethers and gatherings with people in the various communities, which is something that George just doesn't do. Melody called yesterday or day before, or whatever day it was, Monday, I guess, and said she'd been trying to get George Rauscher to call her back for weeks as a constituent. You want somebody who's going to engage. That's what you want. So for my money, Kevin McCabe is the answer in that regard. I'm sure George is a hell of a nice guy, but I don't know, because he won't sit down and talk with us. That's the thing. All right, we got to go. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Hour 2 dead ahead. Melissa Burnett, our guest. Buckle up. It's going to be fun. Okay. All right. Didn't I see Mike Eagle River put in something to remove the mail from being part of Anchorage? What? The what? Miguel, have you been drinking this morning? I don't know what that means. I just don't know what that means. Harold is like, George is going to get the seat, which immediately means that Kevin's going to get the seat, because I don't think I've seen Harold be right about much of any. I mean, he's been right about some financial stuff, but I don't think he's been right about anything politically since we've seen him appear on the program. So when Harold says this is going to happen, I feel like we'll see. All right. The bigger question is, can Rauscher hold the seat? Well, that's a good point. That's something I had not considered. And I was tickled a little bit when I saw that Doug Massey, who had filed for that position, who had run against Mike Shower previously, only got 3 votes out of the whole, that's, but you're right. Could Rauscher hold his own? If he's not willing to engage with the public, and except maybe only during election time, what does that mean? We'll see. Oh man, says Fat Ray. If Harold is right, he'll never let you forget it now. You mean, like I said, he's been right on a few things, but more often than not, he stakes out a position that usually he knows is antithetical to what most people in the chat room want. And I think he does it just to stir people up. So we'll see. George does have an impressive beard. Is that what it takes these days? Miguel says, Mike, my apologies. I thought I saw something where Eagle River has requested to be removed. Yeah, that's the Eagle exit thing. That's what they're talking about, Miguel. There is a move to remove Eagle River from the Anchorage municipality. We'll see. We'll see what happens. All right. I see that Melissa is all ready. She was doing her hair, putting on her makeup, doing all that stuff in front of the camera and getting all ready. And, no, not really, but it's all good. Let's go over there and see what she has to say. We'll check her audio and everything. Hello. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? How is my audio? I got a new camera now.
You're doing good, but your camera's a little dark. You look like
okay. See what I can do to fix that.
No, I mean,
I was doing my makeup, by the way.
I can see you, so it's. It's not that dark. It's not that dark. I can see you. So there you go.
I can see you.
I can see you. It was just like you were a little washed out there behind. No, so now you got a light. You're good. Oh yeah. Now you got a light. Okay.
Right, there you go.
There you go. Now we can see you. All right. Well, you ready to unload on this thing? You ready to get with it and talk about this?
It's gonna be a fun one. See how many people I can rile up.
Yeah. So how many people can you get stirred up in the shortest amount of time? I had to laugh because this morning when I read that headline in that article, I was like, oh my, Melissa's going to have something to say about that. And I was talking about the school boards or the Anchorage School District not closing those. I mean, what $100 million deficit, but we couldn't possibly shut down these two schools that are less than 50% full.
Yeah, that school board doesn't get better till they learn how to align their elections and then fire that superintendent. That's for sure. Yeah.
No, it's gonna be it's gonna be interesting. I mean, the city is struggling. Now they're talking about a 3% sales tax, and now they're talking about, they get this new tax on short-term rentals and a bed tax. And I mean, they're starting to scramble around because they're realizing there just ain't a whole lot more money that they can put together. And I don't know how close they are to the contribution cap, but
I think they go right up to it. I think they're right there.
So it's not like the city could raise more money and give more money to the school district. The school district is just not willing to live within their means. No. And $100 million.
What they did, they went through and hired a bunch of people back before they even knew what the budget was. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, well, because it's like whose line is it anyway? Where the the rules are made up and the points don't count, right? Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what it is. Yeah, kind of what they're doing over there. It's kind of insane. All right, well, we're going to jump back to you here in a second, Melissa. I'm going to park you back in. Do not eat all my donuts. All right, we're going to be back here with just a minute. Yeah, Lucia, she's eating all my donuts again. All right, I actually did get some donuts yesterday when I was in Anchorage. Went to my favorite Anchorage donut shop and got a handful of donuts while I was there. All right. Well, let's I guess we're a minute out. I have nothing. Guys, I'm a little punchy, okay? I'm just saying. 3 hours sleep, not a good way to start a Wednesday. But my son did graduate yesterday. He is officially a firefighter with the Matsu Central Fire District. Went through. I pinned on his badge last night, and God, I'm so proud. That kid, man, such a good kid, such a caring kid. He's so excited, and I'm excited for him. Anyway, great time. Let's get to it, shall we? The Michael Duke Show, Common Sense Radio.
Whoa, buddy. Put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
Welcome to the party, pal.
The Michael Dukes Show.
The greed and the entitlement is astounding to me.
What more could you want from a low-budget radio program?
This is a dumpster fire.
That was just BS.
It is time to get a new perspective.
We know just what you need, and we've got just the cure. Open wide and prepare for a steaming hot cup of freedom.
I just don't fathom it.
The Michael Dukes Show, streaming live across the world.
Live around the world on the interwebs at michaeldukeshow.com and across the state of Alaska on this your favorite radio station and or FM translator. Good morning, my friends, and welcome back to the program. Wednesday edition of the Big Radio Show, Hump Day. And we are continuing, just finished up with Kevin McCabe, who is a potential appointee to the vacant seat for Mike Shower. If you missed that, you can go back and listen to it on the podcast, which is available every day, wherever you find great podcasts, including Spotify. You can go check it out. Go check it out. Check it out. It's fun stuff. All right. Hour 2 of the big show. And I thought, you know what? This would be fun. Why don't we sit down and talk with one of my favorite people, Melissa Burnett, who is the former Fairbanks School Board president. Because now that she has not run her reelection and is out on the streets, she's out on the streets. Maybe now she can tell us what she really thinks. Right? There's nothing worse than a woman scorned. You didn't want to vote for me. Let me tell you how it really is. No, but I really want kind of the inside baseball to see how the sausage is made. We're looking at this. And for those of you just joining us who didn't hear, in the last hour, there's a new story out talking about how Anchorage was going to close 2 schools, only 2. They have $100 million deficit. 2 schools decided last night they can't do it. Can't do it. Got a $100 million deficit. No idea how we're going to fill that hole, except we know how they're going to fill that hole. They're going to walk up to the state with their hand out. Meanwhile, Melissa and company have been working hard in Fairbanks. They closed, 4 schools, 5 schools? And taking a lot of slings and arrows. I would say that that's probably one of the reasons why she didn't get reelected, was because she made the hard choices. Sometimes that's what you got to do. You got to be the adult in the room. That's what happens. So anyway, I thought we would do an after action review, a debriefing, so to speak, with Melissa Burnett. This is an after battle report. And she joins us this morning to talk about education as a whole. Good morning, my dear. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, my friend?
You know, it's another beautiful day in paradise. Only 29 degrees here. So
it's only 0 here.
Yeah. I thought I'd rub it in just a little bit just to get it to, because I mean, as much as I love the people in Fairbanks, you guys can keep all that other stuff. That's all I'm saying. All right, Melissa. Well, this is really the first time we've got a chance to really sit down and talk since the election. I know you were severely disappointed. I know that you've been very passionate about education, taking care of the kids, trying to bring the school district back into where it needed to be and everything else. I know it's something you've been really working on. And you really wanted to go out there and keep doing the work, because you did a great job, I think, as the school board president. And I wanted to congratulate you on that. And Fairbanks has made some hard choices over the last 4 or 5 years. I mean, there's been some hard choices that have had to come out of that, specifically because they, like most of the other school districts in the state, have been facing a deficit. You and I have talked about why that is. And maybe you can just briefly recap. But I mean, I would say that probably because it's poor planning, right? I mean, it's a poor prioritization on the part of the school district and things like that. And basically always planning for the best case scenario instead of the worst case scenario. But you made some changes to that and kind of changed that up here as we got through. So walk me through here the last 4 or 5 years, of your looking at this from the outside, then getting involved, becoming part of the school board, then becoming president. Walk me through, your experience here over the last 5 years and what you see.
Yeah. Well, first off, I'll say I'm very angry still. That's something I'm having a real hard time getting over. I think I've been through all the waves of the emotions with this. I'm angry. I never went into it to get reelected, but man, we were doing some really good things. Yes, they were hard, and I do agree. It's one of the reasons I got unelected. My first year on the board, we had a $32 million deficit. My second year on the board, we had a $29 million deficit. My third year, we got it down to 16. And now the board this year is looking at less than 5 million as a deficit right now, because of the work that we have done. Yes, we closed. So myself, I have closed 4 schools now. Ouch. Yes, that hurts. But when your enrollment is declining and your footprint no longer matches the buildings that you have, it's what you got to do. It's why Anchorage to me is so frustrating. I will say I have some
Okay. Hold on a second. Hold on a second, Melissa. Hold on. Your internet's got to catch up. I don't know. Tim just said something in the chat room about his internet being poor this morning as well. I don't know if there's a Cloudflare problem in Fairbanks or not. There you go. Now you're moving again. You will say, and you were talking about the school sizes and things like that.
Yeah. So our enrollment no longer matches our building footprint, basically. So we've got to do something, right? Same thing with Anchorage. Like, it's astounding to me that they're not doing the work that they just voted to not close those 2 schools. They could actually close like 8 schools and still not be at 90% capacity. I've looked at that.
Right.
You've got to match it. You've got to do what it takes. And that's what we've done over 3 years. I will say, I think the part that got me unelected was the custodial piece. I went through and the board voted to contract custodial services. Are our schools better? No, we knew they weren't going to be better. But our custodians also weren't doing that great of a job. The nighttime ones already weren't doing the best job. And so it was, everything's the same and we're saving $3.5 million. I get it. It was benefits, it's retirements. I understand the hit, but we're not money makers. A school district can't raise money. Your money is your students. People hate putting a number on a student, but that's what it is. Let's be real.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's the thing. Look, we weren't, and you're right. I mean, privatizing the nighttime janitorial staff, I mean, you're not looking for it to be improved as long as it delivers the same service level, but you're saving $3 million. Okay. Sounds like a good idea. I mean, that's a significant number. And yes, when cuts happen, people get hurt. We all understand that. There's a cost to that kind of thing. But at the same time, if we don't make those changes, everybody's going to be hurt. That's the problem. And that's what people don't understand. Now, my understanding, I think you said something prior to the election that your opponent had said, well, if she gets elected, the first thing she's going to do is basically bring those people back on, right? I mean, that was the thing. She was going to, her first thing was she was going to immediately add $3 million more to spending to hire a different group of people.
Her first question out the gate, how do the unions feel about that?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I don't care. Like,
right.
how do our students feel about that? How do our teachers feel about that? How do our families feel about that?
Yeah. Well, this is my question, Melissa, because you just made a valid point. What I don't hear in most of these school board meetings, in the interviews, in the news articles, what I don't hear about? The kids. Like, what's going on with the kids? How are they turning out? What's their achievement? How are they being helped by this? It's almost never about it. Maybe ancillary to it's the classroom size or pupil-teacher ratio or whatever, but never about what about the kids. And it seems like they have gotten left behind. Been forgotten in this whole discussion about, this really in the long run is schools are delivering a product. The product is an educated child. How are we doing? Oh my God, we suck. Totally, horribly suck. What's going on? But there's no self-analysis. It is, what we need is we'd do better if we just had more money. That seems to be the answer.
Well, and the one person who was doing something.
Sorry, Melissa is she's staggering. She needs some more Red Bull this morning.
Thing about it, they kicked off. I just don't.
Yeah.
I'm switching to my phone. I'm having some internet issues.
Okay. All right. I'll let you switch to your phone for a second while I do that. Yeah, no, I mean, you're right. The one person that was actually doing something, Melissa, they kicked her off the board because she was effective. Right. I mean, I guess that's the problem. The answer here is, Melissa, is you must be taking flack when you're over the target, right? You're doing okay when you're taking flack over the target.
Yeah, and that's exactly it, right? And that's why I didn't go into this to get reelected. I did go into this to do what needed to be done. And what needed to be done was we needed to match our footprint to what our enrollment is. We needed to get a hold of this crazy budget situation that we had going on so that boards of the future wouldn't have to keep battling these multi-million-dollar deficits. So I did that. And at the same time, I went in there with this board and we saw increases in math. We saw increases in our reading. Are they the best? No, but we are seeing increases. So that's great. And the highest graduation rate in 18 years. So something that we were doing on this board worked. Even though we were doing hard things, we were doing things for the benefit of the children. I constantly asked, how does this benefit our students? What is this going to do for them? How can we make sure that our students aren't paying the price? I'm sorry that the custodians are mad at me and that the unions are pissed because I had to fire them. I'm sorry. But bottom line is that was either 2 schools or up to 4 more students in a classroom. And I was not going to do that.
And that's the thing, right? You can either close more schools, put more kids in a class, or we can farm out the nighttime janitorial. Which one works for you?
Yes,
I mean,
exactly.
That's a no-brainer. That is a no-brainer right there. Melissa Burnett is our guest. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to I'm just going to give Melissa her head a little bit here. Just give her free rein to tell us a little bit about what she really thinks. She's got to remember, this is an FCC regulated station, Melissa, so be careful. We're going to be back here, The Michael Duke Show. I'm kidding a little. I'm only kidding a little. We're going to be back. Melissa Burnett is our guest, The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. We'll be back with Melissa Burnett talking about the school situation, not just in Fairbanks, but her thoughts, what she sees statewide. We'll be back with more right after this.
Running on 100% pure beard power. Oh, also some coffee. We dip our beard in coffee.
Nice beard.
The Michael Duke Show.
Okay, we're in the break with Melissa. Yeah, sorry, Melissa. I don't know. All of a sudden, you were just talking so slow.
Yeah, it's GCI. I'm getting really frustrated, honestly, with GCI lately. I can't seem to keep my internet from lagging. I reset it, I call, I complain. I'm like, I'm getting ready to switch over to freaking Starlink because I can't.
Starlink works good. I just was adjusting. I was re-updating my Starlink this weekend, and because I have it for backup on certain things, and yeah, I mean, I'm getting 400 something megabytes down right now. I mean, just like right now, all the time, all up all the time. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, Melissa, I want to. So I want to go back to what you were just saying. The first question that she asks your opponent that has won the seat now, so who's taken your seat on the board, the first question she asks about an issue that comes before them is, well, what do the unions think about that? And I thought your answer was perfect. Like, I don't care what the unions think about that. I mean, we're a board making decisions for the long-term benefit of the students and the long-term health of the district. I mean, we want to work with the unions, yes, but why would we care what they think about that when we're trying to overcome a fiscal crunch? I mean, again, you're still $5 or $6 million in the hole, right? So, I mean, that
Yeah.
what walk me through your thoughts on that as you heard that being the first thing out of her mouth.
No, I wasn't surprised. Because if you really went back and listened to everything that happened on the campaign trail, it was a lot of, nothing with us, without us, and all that kind of talk when it was referring to the unions. And I'm not anti-union. I want to make that clear. Like, my husband is a pipe fitter, plumber, 375 guy, has been since we've been together 25, 30 years now. His whole family is union. Like, I respect what these unions do, some of them anyway. But these public unions are completely different entities, and their bottom line is the dollar, right? And their needs. It doesn't matter. I went to them so many times and said, okay, you don't want me to contract custodial. I actually, like, we had that vote the year before, and I saved the janitors from being contracted out because they said they would work with us and then they didn't. And so it's just like last night. So, I am still watching the school board meetings. I saw my friend Debbie in the chat room, asking if I'd still stay involved as a parent. I'm very involved. I've not dropped off. I'm still right there. I'm watching school board meetings, all their work sessions, all their regular meetings. I was just watching last night, and it's just disappointing because while the decisions that need to be made do affect people, and I very much recognize that they do affect people, right? These are benefits, these are retirements, these are people's jobs and livelihoods. I get it. I've said it before, we're not in the business of making money. We don't have a way to generate revenue. Our way to generate revenue is to bring in more students, right? So when you hear people talk about, well, we got to figure out how to bring these correspondence students back into our schools, that's a thing because that's how you generate revenue for a school district. But you're never going to do that, and you're never going to make that enticing or appealing for those families if you don't get to the bottom of what's going on. And the bottom of what's going on is we're providing a horrible product. And while the increases that we have seen have been absolutely amazing, and I'm very proud of the work that I have done, there is still more work to do, which is why I'm pissed that I'm not there anymore, because I am now watching the work that needs to be done slowly go away. And it's amazing how the shift is already there. I watched it last night, clear as day, when they were discussing policy. Like, they were discussing the library book policy, right? I understand this is a very controversial topic. Nobody wants to be seen as a book banner or a book burner or somebody who isn't agreeant with books, but something with age appropriateness needs to be put into the policy so that some of these things that are happening in our schools go away with the books. And
Right.
only Loa and Audra fought for it last night, and you watched the whole board go, no, we're not doing this. I don't agree with that.
All right,
We don't need age appropriate in this.
Hold on. I'm going to let you loose here in a second. Just hold on. Just get so agitated. Here we go. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio.
The Michael Duke Show. Not your daddy. Wait, sorry. Not your daddy? Ooh, not your daddy's talk radio. Whew. I was scared for a second. Thought we were going down. Here's Michael Dukes and the show.
Not your daddy, nor do I play him on TV. All right, we're back. Melissa Burnett is our guest. Boy, I let her rip on something during the break and almost ran right over the break. Yeah, you're already seeing some of the things that you have done start to come undone. Again, we're facing a challenge, and this is the part of the problem. And we've been talking about this with different politicians and candidates and things like that. Is that are you willing to go in there and be a one-term kind of person? Are you willing to go in there and make the hard choices? And many of them say yes, but I don't know if they really mean it, because that's what ended up happening, right? I mean, you came in there and you said, okay, we're going to make the hard choices. You did make the hard choices, and all the metrics are up, right? The deficit's down, graduation rates up, math and reading scores are up, not where you want them to be, but they're up. And so you made those choices, and yet at the same time, nobody came out to support you. I mean, people came out to support you, but not enough people came out to support you. Instead, the special interest seemed to have corralled the school board back into where they were before, that got us into this mess.
Yeah, you know what the most disappointing part of that is when I threw my name back in and said that I was going to redo this, so many people came out. We're like, oh, we're so excited. We can't believe you're going to do this again. You're brave. All the hard choices you made, we support you. I had friends, right? People that I guess this was a wake-up call for me, but friends who, like Crystal Tidwell, who's a good friend of mine, or I thought she was, that ended up knocking doors in this town for the opposition. Other people that I thought were friends of mine that were maybe more progressive, that literally looked me in the face and were like, you're the right choice for this. And then I'd get phone calls that said, guess who just showed up at my door talking about your opponent? And it's like, I didn't realize, I guess I misjudged the power that the union holds over people, I guess. And that was the main concern. I am 100% convinced firing custodians is what cost me my election. It wasn't the schools. Well, maybe it was the Pearl Creek thing, right? You got that whole issue. The decision wasn't wrong, but I got other things to say about that. It just goes to show that the public some of the public, let's correct that, some people that pay attention to this only care about their interests. They care about their schools, they care about their jobs. They don't care about the bottom line, which is, how do we make this better for all 11,800 students in our district?
Right.
And that's always been my question. How do we make this good for the 11,800 students that we are serving?
And that's a great question. Let's talk about some of the controversy since you brought it up. I mean, again, when the school closures started to happen and things like that, Facebook just, I can't believe my child will be scarred for life if they have to go.
Public enemy number one.
Oh man. I mean, it was just, I was reading some of these comments and I keep going back to it, and I don't mean to beat a dead horse, but man, when I was a kid, I started off at Joy Elementary. And then we had to move. I think it was in the second grade, maybe the third grade. I had to move over to Burnett. And you know what? Okay. I mean, it wasn't that, but boy, you read these things, these parents are writing on this Facebook, oh, my child will be scarred for life. Johnny won't be able to, he's in a routine. And or maybe it was, oh, it's so far across town. It's a whole mile away. I mean, kind of thing. It's insane, but that's kind of been the reaction. So there was some controversy in closing some of these schools, obviously. And there was a lot of outcry, but I mean, Pearl Creek, walk me through some of your thoughts on what happened there. Give people the backstory to begin with.
Yeah, so yeah, we face a lot of controversy. You close schools, people get mad, right? And you're seeing that down in Kenai with like Nikolaevsk and stuff, right? I mean, you close a school, parents are like, we like that school. I don't think so. We're going to open a charter. And I'm very pro charter. I'm very pro school choice. I think, if you want to open a charter, great, let's do it. Let's make this viable. Let's make this good, and let's open this thing. More school choices are not a bad thing. But the whole Pro Creek issue started when you have three different entities that are dealing with each other. You got a school board, right? That are technically, they're the decision makers there. You've got the administration, who are the ones that are helping guide the APC with the charter on how to put the school together and getting everything lined up. And then you've got the charter school itself and their APC. And all three entities, you've got three different stories. You've got the one that Pro Creek is saying, the one admin is telling you, and then the one that you're seeing. Now, my emails were nasty. The things that were coming forward, some of these people were absolutely just, it was gross. The way they behaved, the way they acted, the Facebook comments, you saw it all. It was World War III when it comes to school board stuff. I mean, you would expect that. School closures are very emotional. But when you looked at the application, there were things about it. And I hope that it is with the state now. So they did send it off to the commissioner. The commissioner has it on her desk. I'm hopeful the commissioner will see it the way we saw it, and that there are a lot of flaws in this application. But the biggest issue came, and this is something I've realized after the fact, and it makes me mad, is the administration played both entities, right? You had, and I've got receipts for all of it, where you've got the administration who told the charter school, well, if you get 400 signatures and you put them on a petition and you give them to the school board will agenda your application and then you'll get it heard. And this was last spring. Well, then when Pro Creek went and got the 400 signatures and brought them forward, then the administration brought the lawyers to the school board. And that's what happened. They brought the lawyers to us and said, no, this is not a petition. This is not what you do. And then all of a sudden the school board is wrapped up in, do we put this on the agenda or do we listen to the lawyers? And so when everyone's mad that the lawyers got brought in, that was something that ended up being out of the school board's control. And it's things like this that happen. And it's three different stories that combine into one entity. And then you got a riled up folks over here with the school, and you're watching this play out. And it's the most frustrating thing to me to watch happen, because now that I'm on the other side of this and I'm watching this thing go down with Two Rivers is singing a lot of the same story that Pro Creek sang. Again, the decision wasn't wrong. The application was flawed, but that could have been so much different of a story with the way it went down, because Two Rivers is over here fixing their application. They're willing to do the work to fix it. They took it back yesterday. They're going to rework it. They're going to fix some things, and then they're going to resubmit to the board. That could have been what happened with Pro Creek. Instead, you ended up with this battle where now the state's involved. The commissioner was getting involved, and she shouldn't have been, because that was a conflict of interest. But then you've got all the legislators involved, and all of a sudden the big bad school board president is the one that's the meanie, and she's holding all this back. But it was really a mix-up of the administration basically pulling the strings of how they wanted this to go down, and that's what's happening. And I hate to do that, because I do like the administration. There are people there that I absolutely adore. I do. I respect them a lot. But this crap, this is the problem.
Yeah. No, and and that's the thing again, is you're only getting half the story half the time.
Yes.
So that's part of the problem here. Let's talk for just a minute here about some of the things we were talking about. Facebook, we were talking about the school closures. Again, you're saying that you probably got unelected. One of the biggest components was the privatizing of the nighttime janitorial. I would say school closures probably didn't help in that regard as well, but it was something that needed to be done. But what I did see quite a bit of in the Fairbanks Facebook comments on these stories as they came out was there was and this is a first. This is a first time in the last year I'm starting to see this now, where there was a lot of people who were like, "Oh, it's those damn homeschoolers. They're taking all our money and they're leaving." Now, this is something that you said earlier. Why are people leaving the school? Because we're delivering a crappy product, right? Because we're not doing what needs to be done, or we're so stuck up in, I don't know, justice or equity or whatever it is. We're forgetting about the basics of what's happening. And that's why people are leaving. But this has been a new harsher turn now to lay the blame at the feet of people who've decided not to participate anymore in the brick and mortar schools and do their own thing, whether it's a homeschooling or correspondence or charter or whatever. Now they're the boogeyman. What's your thought as a former school board member and president? What's your thoughts on that specifically and the tack that's being taken in that regard?
I think it's wrong. I don't think that it's fair to blame families for voting with their feet. Um, and it's a whole bunch of different reasons, right? It also boils down to some families just find it easier. They're finding that they can school for about 3-4 hours a day and then have all this time to travel, enjoy sports and athletics, or whatever it is that they do. You see a lot of sports kids that are leaving, like, so I'm in the hockey world, right? My son plays AAA and AA hockey. You're seeing kids leaving the state to go play juniors and AAA hockey, and they're signing up for homeschool because it's easier to be able to go live their big hockey dreams and do school online to be able to keep up with it. So there's so many different reasons why families are moving with their feet and deciding to homeschool. I don't think it's their fault at all. I think that school districts need to realize, and I have said this over and over and over again, that education is no longer cookie cutter. No longer are families choosing to go and sit in a school for 8 hours a day and have their kids run by a classroom. Some families, that still is an option. Others, they want to homeschool. They want options to be able to utilize it. It's just different now. And when
Well, it's like
districts realize that, they'll do better.
we used to have buggies, horse-drawn buggies, and now we got cars. And so you got to adapt or die, right? You don't see a lot of farriers lining the street to shoe your horses these days because that's just not the way it is. And that's the problem. We're working off of an education model that's over 100 years old, and they just want to continue to do things the way that they've always done them. But technology has brought out a whole different thing. And of course, COVID showed a lot of parents that it wasn't as hard to educate their children as they thought it was. And so they feel like they want to take a better, and some of them are unhappy. Some of them are just unhappy, whether it's with the achievement and the outcome, or whether it's with some form of policy or politics or something that's involved in there. And they shouldn't be punished just because they've decided, as you said, I think that was a perfect analogy, to vote with their feet. And they shouldn't be blamed for it. The school district built their whole model on this per student and per pupil funding. And that's part and parcel of the problem. It's not the parents' fault when they decide to pull their kids out. That's not an appropriate way to do that.
No, it's not. And if they say, the proof is in the pudding, right? I love, like, that's one of the phrases I like. The proof is in the pudding. The pudding is Matsu. If you really look at it, you want to say the proof is in the pudding. The pudding is Matsu. Look at what they're doing. Now, their deficits are not behind them. They still have deficits. They still are having some issues with their budget. They're still having to face, some decisions that they have to make. But you're seeing an increase in enrollment there. You're seeing families want to join their programs. And, I wish I had the name of it. They've got that program where they utilize CTE and correspondence, and they put them together. And so correspondence students are having pathways to CTE programs there in the Matsu that families are flocking to. And so it's when you have appealing programs and appealing things, which is why I hope that this Two Rivers application gets approved, because Two Rivers is doing something similar like that, right? They're trying to incorporate how to involve correspondence students into this program. And I think it's a great thing. And I think when we start opening those doors, we'll start seeing families want to utilize the programs again. It
Right.
might not be all day, but they'll come for part-time. They'll come
Well,
for a couple classes.
my question is this before we go to break here. We got to go to break here in a second. But my question is this: as we see the outflow, and again, another 500-600 students fewer than you had last year in this last enrollment cycle. I mean, you guys are down by 6,000 or 7,000 students in just the last handful of years. That's a huge hit. But instead of, like I said, that this blame game has gone on. Oh, it's the homeschool. Instead of asking themselves, well, what are we doing? Well, why are they leaving? Are they interviewing them? Are they asking them why they're leaving? Are they trying to make their own correspondence program more attractive? Are they building bells and whistles in like Matt Sue is doing to try and combine things? But that doesn't seem to be happening. Were these conversations happening on the school board with this self-analysis where they're like, what are we doing wrong? Were any of those conversations happening?
No, they weren't. I did try to make them happen a few times, but it's a conversation they don't want to have. They don't want to really look at what we're doing wrong. They just want to look at how can we fix it, which was the whole ploy behind the strategic plan, right? The strategic plan that we put in place. I like it. I think it's a move in the right direction. You've got the whole choice built into it. So it is a realization. It's just not something that they're willing to admit, if that makes sense. So
Right.
They're realizing it. They just don't want to admit it.
Right. And again, that self-analysis can be painful because you can realize that you've been doing something wrong. So you want to fix it. So you build all these bells and whistles that make things attractive, but you never look at the root cause. And that's the problem. That's like slapping a pretty, Hello Kitty Band-Aid on a bleeding arterial wound. It looks pretty, but it's not really fixing anything. And that's where we are. Melissa Burnett is our guest. We're coming up on the last break, and we're going to continue here in just a moment. Don't go anywhere. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. We're gonna give Melissa the Emperor's wand in the next segment. What would she do if she had all the power in the world? How would she fix this? Because we should be about solutions too, right? Shouldn't be just about griping. We should be about solutions. We're going to talk about that here in just a moment. Don't go anywhere. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio.
We're broadcasting live through a series of tubes,
allowing all of these entities to provide streaming stuff going on the internet.
Well, it's kind of hard to explain. Sorry. Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
Okay, Melissa's our guest.
Fat Ray's killing me over here.
I know, really. I know. Which one, the butterscotch pudding or the? Yeah.
We're putting Fat Ray right in the old folks' home now. Oh, the butterscotch pudding.
Yeah, he's like, pudding. Butterscotch pudding makes me feel less resistant to being put in an old folks' home. There is something good about butterscotch pudding, I will say that. But he also said, wait, I thought Fairbanks enrollment loss was due to PCS moves and had nothing to do with progressive politics, right? Because we did hear that early on. Oh, this is not, it's not us, it's you. It's not us. Right.
Don't get me wrong. That is a huge component. And it's on all the reports. That hasn't changed. We actually are seeing more people pull out due to leaving the state and PCSing. But we actually don't. So I don't have proof behind we know how many are PCSing, but there's more that are leaving as well. So they're leaving the state, but are they leaving the state because they're going to go to, I don't know, I think they're going to Texas and Arizona. I think that's where they've got these programs at right now that are really appealing. So are they leaving because we closed Pro Creek? So now they want to go to Arizona and utilize their programs. Yes, people are leaving the state. Yes, there are a lot. The military is killing us. We saw over 300 this year. Over 300 were military moves.
Right.
And that sucks.
But some of that's, the thing is, there's also replacement, right? I mean, and granted, they're not having as many kids these days and et cetera, but 300 move out, 200 move in, right? I mean, it's still, you're still getting that. But again, are some of them putting them into the regular school, or the people moving in deciding that they're going to continue a homeschooling education or something else, so it's not the only problem. Again, this whole comes back in my mind to self-analysis. Why are we losing these students? What is causing that? What is the causality? And then we can address it head on, instead of just, let's throw all these ideas at the wall, which all cost money, and then see if they work. Well, first, let's do some analysis as to why they left. I mean, are the schools doing any kind of exit interview with parents when they pull their kids from school? Are they going, why are you doing that? What's going on? What's in,
So
what do you
there is there is a question on there. I know that there's an exit question, but it's very hit or miss on whether or not people answer it. Sometimes it's one word, leaving. Sometimes they'll say out of state, but it is, that's something we need to do better at, is find out why.
Right. Well, and instead of just giving them a question, because we all know how you're going to get a questionnaire, an exit questionnaire, you're going to pencil whip that thing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, have somebody pick up the phone and go, "Hi, Julie, why are you taking little Johnny out of the school? Why are you, are you leaving? Are you doing this? Are you doing that? How did we do? How about that? How about you said, we know you're leaving, but how did we do? And are you leaving because you're leaving, or are you, I mean,
yeah, I would like to see that happen. But what's really funny is every time we try to implement something on the board, Fat Ray said the board doesn't control the admin. No, heck no, Fat Ray. I wish they did, but no, they absolutely do not. Because the minute we say, hey, we want you to do this, we get told, well, you cut us by this much. And so we just don't have the resources. And if you keep cutting us, then we don't have the resources to do that either.
Well, and again, this is the problem with the board trying to control some of these things, but really having very little control. As I said earlier in the program, that I believe that a lot of these financial crises that these school districts are facing are of their own making, not of the boards themselves, but the districts planning for the best, and just ignoring the worst case scenario. We should be budgeting. We should be budgeting on the worst case scenario and then hoping for the best. That's what we should be doing, right?
Yep. Yes, I absolutely agree with that. And you see it every year when we do our budget, right? People think that the board has their hands in the little finite details of the budget. They don't. Our hand in the budget, and a lot of people might be surprised to know this, is we basically get the budget given to us balanced. And then it's us to look at it and go, we don't like what you did. Here's what we want to see different. And so, and I know that, because that's the way it kind of goes with the assembly, though. You kind of are the purse holder, so you can do it a little differently. Over on the district, the chief operations officer is the purse holder. And so we basically go back through and say, we don't like what you did. We want to see this done differently. And so it's really complicated. And it's, people keep asking, are you going to go back? Are you going to do this? No, I don't think I'm going back to the board.
That was going to be one of my questions is, do you really want it? I mean, you're mad about it, but at this point, maybe you should be breathing a sigh of relief. Maybe you dodged a bullet, because when the wheels come off this bus, oh baby, who's going to be left holding the bag? Who's going to, when the music stops and there's one chair, who's going to be looking around like, oh, it's not my fault? Yeah, right. Okay. Anyway, okay, we're 15 seconds out. We're going to rejoin. Melissa Burnett is our guest. Kind of a free-ranging discussion on education as a whole, but we're going to get her hot take here on the last few minutes on this. This should be fun. So buckle up, Buttercup. Here we go. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio.
The Michael Duke Show, proudly splitting the left versus right dichotomy. Yeah, I had to look that word up too. I don't think it means what he thinks it means. Here he is, though. That guy, Michael Dukes, the one with the show.
Okay, one final segment. Melissa Burnett is our guest. So, Melissa, we should have some solutions here. And, I know that we were just talking about during the break, we were talking about how hard it is, because as a board, you don't necessarily control the purse strings. You basically rubber stamp something that's been handed to you by the district and everything. It's difficult, so because you got a lot of people involved, and people suck overall. I mean, it's just kind of like, that's just how people are. They just, a one-on-one, they're great, but you get them en masse and it's a real problem. So I make you queen for the day, right? Emperor, God Empress of the world, and you can just make any decision you want. You're looking at Fairbanks, you're looking at any of these other districts, you're looking at the school crises that are happening across the state. What do you do? How do you fix this? If you had all that unlimited power, then what would you do to, how would you fix this? What was it going to take?
I'm Marie Antoinette. Let them eat cake, baby.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what? If I were queen for a day and I could fix it all, to be honest, I would start at the state level, because that's where it begins. We've got to get a fiscal financial plan in place. We need a fiscal plan. We need to figure that out. And inside that fiscal plan, we need to break open the funding formula for districts, because it is broken. You want to talk about something that is broken as hell and is costing us a lot more money than it should? It's that foundation formula for funding school districts. We need to break that open and fix that. We could consolidate some school districts, to be completely honest. There is no reason we need, 53 superintendents? We don't need that many. Right. We can consolidate some of these resources and combine some of these school districts, even going as far as maybe even looking at boroughs and expanding boroughs. Maybe that's how far that goes. I don't know what that looks like. And then you got to come back down to the state level, and school boards need to take back control of their districts. Because from what I see, from being on the board for 3 years and now coming back on the other side of it, is school boards have control of three things, basically. That's the superintendent, that's the budget, and that's the policies. And while those are three major components, there are so many other components of a school district that you don't even think about, that a school board should probably have a little bit more say over. I've been doing a lot of research into other school districts and how they operate in other states. And given I don't like New York, so please don't take this as anything, because New York is not usually a great example of things. But in New York, their school districts have to answer to the public. So once the school boards and the districts do their budget, they then have to submit their budget to the public, to their community. And then the community has a chance to go and look at it and say yes or no to it before it comes back to the district and they make it final. So I honestly think that that's a great idea, and that we should probably be doing something like that, to be able to have a little bit more checks and balances there. School boards should be stronger. I'm not saying that our school board is weak. Obviously, it wasn't weak. We have done a lot of hard things, but we could have actually done a lot harder things. There was more we could have done. And school boards need to do those things. Anchorage, I don't know what they're doing. Like I said, I've had a lot of respect for those school board members, but again, they are deferring their responsibility, which is close the dang schools, Anchorage. Your enrollment is dropping. Your school that you refuse to close 6-1 is sitting at 41%. What are you doing?
Right. If you combine the two schools that were going to close, they'd barely hit 90% in another school, right? I mean,
exactly.
That's the problem. And this is an overall issue, is that they're just refusing to make the hard decision, the adult decisions, when they look at it and realize, millions of dollars in deficit. And
look at what happens when you do. You lose your seat, right? That's what they look at. And that I'm seeing that's a big ploy and why people make the decisions they do. They want to stay in their seats. I wanted to stay in my seat too. I wanted to still be on that board. Absolutely. I was devastated. It took me until today to be able to talk about this without crying my eyes out, Dukes. I won't lie, because I've been that distraught over it. Like, I wanted to still be there. But I do not regret anything that I have done. The board actually just won Outstanding School Board of the Year. Given it sucked to watch it being handed to the new school board president, but he was handed that because of the work that I did with this board. So, the things that we did were noticed. And I hope that this board continues on, but I doubt it. I have very, very, very low hopes that they continue on in this path.
Let me ask you one final question here before we run out of time. How big of a component to the problems that we're facing now, and you mentioned this earlier about public unions, because your husband's a union member, but it's a private union, yada, yada. But how much of a problem, how much of these problems that we're seeing across the state, in your opinion, are being driven by the influence of the public union and the education industry in that regard?
99.99.
99.99%. 999% is that. How do we fix that part, I guess, is my question. Get rid of them.
Yeah. I honestly, and people can be mad or not. I know this group wouldn't be mad, but I think that education related unions need to go away.
I wouldn't disagree, because again, I think that that's a big part of the problem. That's what's driving a lot of the issues that we're seeing today, has been driven by that education establishment that's in there, again, focused primarily not on not what's going on with the kids, but going on with the employees, and making sure that the money keeps flowing and that nobody loses. Again, this goes back to the privatizing of the nighttime janitorial staff. Somebody lost their job and they were not happy about that, and that's definitely a part of that. All right. So we're down to 2 minutes here, and I'm going to give you the floor for your final thoughts on this. As you said, I mean, you're still angry, you're still upset. Would you go back tomorrow, Melissa? Would you go back? I mean,
no.
Give us your final thoughts here.
Yeah, no, I put a lot of thought into that. I've actually had people text me, be like, you need to be back on this board. You need to run again. The district is lost without you. And I understand that, but the district's going to have to find its way. I hope that some people out there can be strong. I hope that Loa and Audra can step up to the plate and do what needs to be done. But no, I'm done with the board. Yes, I am angry, but it's time to move on. And I'm going to use my anger as fuel. And my plans for the future will include banging my head against the wall with the assembly. So that's my next step. I'm going to go see what I can do over there. So I guess that's an official announcement, but I do plan to run for borough assembly next because I'm insane. I love this community.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm glad to see that you're going to stay engaged and stay involved, but you're right. Sometimes you got to move up the ladder to try and fix the problem there. And that, good luck with that is all I'm saying. Good luck. Having been there, good luck with that. We'll see how it is. All right. Melissa Burnett, our guest. Anything else, Melissa? Here, we're about 30 seconds out.
You know what? I just wish everybody a really great afternoon and day. It's what's today? Wednesday already? Holy crap, we're middle of the week. Thanksgiving's next week. So have a happy holiday and all the good things. I thank you guys for letting me be here. And Dukes, I love you.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you coming on board and giving us some real talk. That's what we needed. We needed some real talk. Without all the, we've got to be kind to each other. Sometimes you got to lay the truth out there. It's not a good thing to hide it behind statesmanship or whatever. Anyway, Melissa Burnett, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Appreciate you coming on up. Thanks for joining us. All right, folks, we got to go. We'll be back tomorrow. The Michael Duke Show, Common Sense Radio. All right. I give you one final bite here, kid. I mean, you're a glutton for punishment. You're going to jump on the assembly? Man,
I want to go be a thorn in Grier Hopkins' ass.
Oh, man. I just would rather slam my head in the door repeatedly. Yeah. Well, somebody's got to do it. I mean, at this point, somebody's got to do it because, they tried to bust the tax cap already. They borrowed $10 million from savings to balance the budget this last year. That can't continue.
No.
And God knows what it's going to look like this next year. I mean,
and that's why I'm running, right? I'm actually really upset at the fact that we had an election because they wanted all this $10 million, right? They wanted this $10 million to go to education. I'm not against education funding, but I am against increasing taxpayer dollars to make it happen. And so they did this big election, that wasn't even a conservative-led election. That was Fairbanks saying, don't raise my taxes.
Right.
That
Right.
was left and right.
Yeah.
And then they just found another way to do it with they saved money to toss the football over the fence. Like I said, I am pro education funding, but when it's costing our taxpayers money and it's the borough is also not doing the things that I help the school board do, right? The borough's not making cuts. They're not finding areas that they can eliminate. They're not doing the hard thing. They're just kicking the can down the road over and over and over again. And to be honest, I am tired of watching that happen as well. So, will it be worth it? We'll see in the long run. I think it will be. I think that I can go bring some common sense in there, maybe smack Grier around a little bit and be like, dude, what are you doing?
Right. Well, we can always hope. We can always hope that you get enough support to do it. Miguel says he's giving it another go again, and so he said, "Let's do this together," kind of thing.
Yeah.
No, I'd love to. I'd love to see it. Rick just said, "Hey, come on again." It's always. I don't know if coming on this show is good for her political career. I don't know because I get her to see.
Well, and I think that's something because everybody looked at me when, being on the school board, and when I was being the freaking president of a school board, when you believe the things I believe is the hardest thing on the planet, because you had to find a middle ground. I know Fat Ray the other day said something, well, if she really didn't say what she thinks while on the school board, do we really want members like that? Shut up, Fat Ray. Yes, you do want members like that, because it's not about what I think, but you also have to understand that what I think plays a lot into the decisions I make and how I make them. It's just not always prevalent.
No, if you're a presiding officer, you have to be a bit of a consensus builder. It can't always be just about, you can't be a tyrant.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that's why I would never want to be a president, because then I wouldn't be able to say what I really think 100%.
Well, and I do believe that that's why they let it happen, right? Fat Ray also said that, he believed, and Senator Myers would agree with this. They believe that the reason that they voted me in for president was so that I would take these hits. So I don't disagree.
And so that you would shut up, right? So you couldn't be as mouthy, and then they could lay any failure at your feet. And so it worked out in that regard. All right. Well, Melissa Burnett, thanks for coming on board, and have a happy Turkey Day if I don't talk to you before then. And we'll see you again soon. Thanks for coming out.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it. All right, folks. Well, that does it for me. I'm done for today. We will see you guys tomorrow. Be kind, love one another, live well. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Ho, ho, ho.
We've shed our terrestrial radio skin, and now we are slimy lizard internet people. It's the Michael Duke Show.